Hey guys, happy Wednesday, hump day, whatever you want to call it. I am back. Yep, 2 days in a row you get a video from me. I decided to come on because I have been asked certain things that I would really like to chat about, and what this conversation is going to be about is ultimately things that collectors are afraid to say out of fear. This could be towards other collectors. A lot of times this is towards artists, because we are very careful as collectors overall. Most of us are very careful because we never want to offend. We never want to hurt anybody's feelings. However, I feel like these things do need to be shared, because ultimately, like, being honest is like something that I try to hold very closely in the forefront of my mind when I respond, when people ask me questions, when people want my opinions, especially when artists ask for an opinion or they want feedback or whatever. I try to be very, very truthful, but with tact. So a lot of times, these are all like the taboo things that, collectors should never bring up, or, collectors are just literally inside, they're like screaming, like, I'm unhappy or I want to say something, but they're just too afraid. There's a fear there. And I think that for most of us, it comes from one, not wanting to be looked at as a troublemaker, someone that's problematic, especially when it concerns like a doll sale. So I have had multiple doll sales. I'm trying to put this in a way that is not offensive, that's careful and thoughtful, but also to the point. So I have purchased, because I've been in the doll community for so long, I've purchased so many dolls. Like, you guys may not see me purchasing them now. However, for many years, I was buying, selling all the time, right? It was like a revolving door. I've said this time and time again. If you haven't followed me for long, I have not always been the content collector that you see here now. I used to be very non-content, and I was searching, seeking, trying to find that special doll, the perfect doll, and it took me a very long time to get there. A lot of people that are newer see me as I'm a content collector, and it looks like I've always had this happiness level with my collection. It's not the case. So per everybody else, when they come into this community, it takes us a while to figure out what we like. So, there have been many instances where I have purchased dolls either directly from the artist. Majority of the time early on, it was always directly from the artist. It was never buying from the secondary market, because it was so new. People weren't selling them like you see now. Like right now, you can go on to a number of doll sites and find lots of secondhand dolls for sale. Like, it's just a plethora out there, because let's face it, this hobby's been around long enough that there's a good turnover rate. Back when I first started collecting, there was not. So I was buying directly from artists, and I even dabbled in the whole, let's do a custom. And this will give you a bird's eye view into why I don't do customs any longer, and I just refuse to do them no matter what. I don't care. I just cannot do a custom. It never has worked out for many reasons, but one of them being, like, in my mind, I have like the picture of like something that I really, really want. And then you try to relay that information to an artist, right? Like, how do you relay exactly what's in your mind? I mean, you can say, okay, brown hair, blue eyes, and fair skinned, but that doesn't really tell the artist everything, and it doesn't share every, look or vision that you see the doll being in your mind. There's a disconnect there. So a lot of times when the reborn art was newer, not everybody was great at being artists at that point in time. So a lot of times I would receive a doll that may have looked okay in pictures. So when they sent pictures, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And then you receive the doll and you're like, oh, this isn't anything like I thought it would be, and you're completely disappointed. And then you're kind of struck with the thought, do I tell the artist? that I'm unhappy? Do I tell the artist it's not up to par? And that's where the fear, whether it's back then or now, if I were to purchase a doll directly from an artist, I would have that internal struggle of what do I say to the artist? Do I just accept it as is and then just sell it on? That's number one. Are you out there? Are you honest with artists when you order a doll or you just see a doll posted for sale from an artist and then you get the doll and it's just not what you expected? And it's not about being picky, because there's a fine line there, right? Like there's a fine line of having expectations, realistic expectations, and then being just disappointed because the art just wasn't what the pictures represented. And there are some artists out there that take fantastic pictures, and the lighting, they have the best lighting and they're only showing like the best parts of the doll, but then you get the doll home and you see that, well, it's not that great. Do you say something? That's out of fear. You don't want to be the difficult customer. You don't want to be labeled as a difficult customer or a difficult buyer in the reborn hobby in our community, because people hear about it. Word travels fast, especially if it's a well-known artist. So that's fear number one, and that's a lot of collectors out there. You can share with me your thoughts in the comments below, what you think, if this is something that has occurred, and what did you do? Were you honest with the artist? So many times that I received a doll that I thought was not nearly what it was portrayed to be, I've always been honest with artists. I've done it in a matter of being very kind, but also being that I want to give them good feedback for growth, right? A good artist, a really good artist that wants to improve on their work, whether they're newer, been around doing it for a while, or if they're seasoned, if you put it in a way that is respectful and not mean, because that's also the thing. Some people just don't have any couth when they say things or they express themselves, and that can be a problem. So it's all in the delivery. So I have found that number one thing of not wanting to hurt an artist's feelings but still want to give them actual feedback is the delivery of it. So if you're careful and you're constructive in a way that's kind, this isn't really what I expected, and these are the things that I have issue with. I have done that many times over the years. I've done it with that internal struggle of going, oh God, I don't want to offend. I don't want to offend, and I don't want the artist to be upset with me, because we never want an artist to be upset with us. But there's got to be some give and take there. So that out of fear, a lot of collectors don't share potentially not so great situations because they don't want to be labeled as a problematic buyer. But I find that it is essential. Like, I feel like I'm not doing my duty if I don't respectfully say, like, this isn't up to par and this is not acceptable, because sometimes it's flat out not acceptable. I have received silicone dolls that came peeling with shiny spots all over it that I had to just bite the bullet and be a little bit of a hard case and send the doll back and have it repaired, or send the doll back, period, and say, I'm not interested unless you can make it right. I did it in a kind manner, but and when people ask me about certain dolls by certain artists, I'm truthful. It's probably why I get a lot of people asking me a lot of questions. It's just, I feel like it's my duty to be truthful and honest, even if it's not pretty and picture perfect all the time. I think that's that's necessary for collectors to know who's good to buy from and who might be problematic. And it's not because I have something out for an artist, it's just my experience has been. And there's artists out there that I will never purchase a doll from, no matter how beautiful the artwork might be, because I have had very bad experiences with, and I know that they have problematic painting issues or matting issues or tearing issues, all of that. So I try very hard, even though it's difficult and I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, I will always be honest. And I think that's important. So that's like the biggest one, right? That we just don't want to upset an artist. The other one is when an artist reaches out to you when you have one of their dolls up for sale, or if you haven't kept it very long. This is a big one. Fear of upsetting the artist because you're selling on their artwork. You're not keeping the doll you bought from them. It could be a short period of time. It could be that you had the doll for a little bit. It could just be that you want to experience a lot. And I have literally been messaged by multiple artists like, why did you decide to sell? I just want to know, was it something I did that you didn't like? And again, a lot of times it's something that I didn't care for about the doll. It may not even have anything to do with the art itself, the painting itself. It could be just the kit I didn't care for overall because I didn't realize like proportions and things, because I'm weird about proportions. It has to be realistic, all of that. But I will be honest with all artists that ask for my true opinion. When they do ask, I find that it's important for me to, of course, be honest. All about the delivery though, and I never want to offend either. However, if something wasn't great and I sent it on because I it had to do with the type of artwork or how it was painted or it wasn't how I thought it would be, I'm going to tell them. So that's another one. Fear of selling a doll too quickly and an artist will be offended because you didn't hold on to the doll. You got to do you, boo. That's how I feel about this hobby, is that you're not in it to please someone else. You can be kind, but you're not here to please everybody else. You're not here to please the artist and hold on to their work because you're out of fear that you're going to upset them. Artists should understand that it's not personal. In this hobby, we're going to buy and sell, especially if you're newer to it and you're trying to figure out what you like. You might just realize, oh, well, I suddenly realized I don't like an open-eyed baby, so I'm going to sell this one to bring home a closed-eyed baby, right? It could be as simple as that, but it's all in the delivery. The other thing is when we're dealing with, okay, we're all on social media, we're all on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Here's another one. Collectors have a hard time being honest with other collectors if they don't like something that they post. Like I always say, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say anything at all. But a lot of people will show a doll that they just received and you're looking at it and you're like, oh, that's not great. But yet you feel compelled to like comment and compliment someone's new addition, right? I just don't say anything at all. Like I feel like, or unless they want an opinion, what do you think? Or I've seen like collectors ask like, which one do you like better? I'm truthful, I'm honest, I'm going to share what I like, and if they ask why, I'm going to say, because I'm always in my brain, I'm always looking for realism. It has to be real, it has to look like it could fool somebody, it has to be all those things for me to love a doll or go wow. And it takes a lot for me to go wow anymore. It just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen very often. It is what it is. I think it's par for the course for being a long-time collector and seeing everything that's out there. It takes a lot to really wow me and make me stop in my tracks and go, dang, that's a beautiful doll, because I know pictures, you can make a lot of dolls look really beautiful, but like when you're looking really close up and trying to find realism, it's hard to achieve. And realism in a picture, I'm not about that. I'm about realism in real life. Like if a doll looks great in a picture and I can take a picture of one of my dolls and it looks great in a picture, but it doesn't look real in real life, like in person, can't do it. Like, and this is a struggle that I actually was talking to my friend Michelle about yesterday, is that I can't, like, it's the proportions thing also. Like, if the doll, like in a picture, you can't tell if a doll's proportions are off. It's hard to tell if a doll's proportions are like wonky. And I say that because we're having conversations, she and I were having conversations about larger dolls and proportions needing to be like per the persona of the doll or the specific age the doll's supposed to be. So that's why it took me so long to finally get a larger doll, because they're usually like 21, 22 inches long, made to look like an older baby. And I know physically in real life, an older baby, 5, 6 months old, over 6 months old, is not going to be that size. And so I can't look past that. I have a hard time looking past that. And that has been an issue for me. Whereas a lot of other collectors tend to be able to look past that, and they can have like toddler age dolls that aren't like physically the size of a toddler. And that's fine. But knowing what you like, and that's these are the tricks of learning what you like in this hobby is what do you like, what can you see past, what can't you see past, and then sharing that feedback if someone wants to know. Like a lot of times we're afraid. It's totally out of fear that we don't want to share our opinions. It tends to be like, okay, I don't want to offend, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings, I don't want to like be that person that is like looks like they're mean. But sometimes being blunt, being completely honest, it is so much better than just, dancing around it, especially with your friends. Like my friends and I, this is the great thing, is that we can share our honest opinion. And sometimes it might seem harsh, but I respect harsh and straightforward and to the point rather than someone blowing smoke up my butt. And I think there's a lot of that happens because we never want to offend. We want to be like the amicable, always nice, always kind. And it is that fear. You never want to be perceived as being mean or, I don't know, didn't like it, or that it's just, I don't know. I think that there's just always that constant fear of offending somebody. And that's common with everything on social media. I have learned to grow a very thick skin. Like my skin is thick. Like you can give me all of the feedback on my dolls. If you don't like Monroe, great. Fine, not your cup of tea. If you don't like June, also fine. That's not your cup of tea, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day whether or not somebody likes my dolls, as long as I love my dolls. So even if you're on the receiving end of getting someone's opinion or feedback, especially if you put yourself out there on social media, especially if you make videos where people can constantly comment, you have to be aware that it's not personal. Sometimes people are trying to be mean and you just take it for what it is and move on. But don't take it to heart, because at the end of the day, what you love is what you love. And that is all that matters. Whether or not someone else loves your dolls, it doesn't matter. Is it nice to have your friends like your dolls? Sure. Is it necessary? Hell no. And you need to get to a point in the hobby, in your collecting journey, where you absorb kind of people's opinions and you kind of let it in and then let that fleeting thought leave you again. It's kind of what it is. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody thinks that their opinion matters, but at the end of the day, your own opinion is what matters. So don't let fear drive you. Don't let fear drive you to your choices also. Just because something is popular, I'll use Pickle. Pickle is the most popular kit. Everybody and their brother is getting them. I see them literally everywhere. I can't not see them. I'm not a fan of the kit. I will be this is me being honest. I'm just not a fan of the kit. I don't particularly care for many things about the kit, but that's my own opinion. And I am probably in the minority at this point because I see them everywhere and people are raving about them. But my opinion is that I don't care for it. You won't see a Pickle on my channel. And it's okay to have that thought. It's okay to have those opinions. Does it matter to anybody else out there that loves the Pickle? No. Enjoy it. Go run out and buy your Pickle if you want one, Join the club. I am just not that way. I don't buy things because they're popular. I don't let the popularity of a kit drive me. It has to sing to me. I have to love it. I have to literally yearn to have it before I will invest my money in it. It's just how I am as a collector. I know what I like. I'm very, very clear in my mind of what I like and what I don't like. And if I look at a kit and I can pick it apart before it's it could be the most beautifully painted, but if I find things that'll bother me, it's not for me. And that for me is the Pickle. There are certain things about it that just don't resonate with me. So you're just not going to see one here. But I love that everybody else enjoys it and wants one. It's just, again, we all have opinions, and fear tends to drive a lot of people in their decision making, and it shouldn't. I guess I'll end on this note. We as collectors, we want to be accepted, especially those of us that share on different social media platforms. We all want to be accepted. We want our dolls to be loved, but it's driven out of fear that you won't be accepted, and you can't choose your dolls. You can't grow your collection based on fear. Sometimes hard truths are good to share, but just remember, It's all in the delivery. You can be kind and give an opinion that's not popular as long as you do it in a nice manner. You know, it's not your cup of tea, and that's okay. You know, just like my choices are not going to be all your cup of tea, and that's okay. But don't fear being truthful or honest, and don't be afraid to make choices that please you and only you, even if they're the most unpopular choices. That's okay. And I want collectors to understand that it's not about pleasing everybody else. It's only about pleasing yourself. And if you do that, trust me, your collecting journey will be amazing wherever it's at, whatever stages you're at in buying and growing your collection. As long as you're buying for you, nothing else matters. Whether or not someone accepts it, who cares? You have to be happy as a collector. And I have found that once I realized that very early on, that I needed to buy for me, not because it's popular, not because it's accepted, not because everybody has one. It means I'm happy at the end of the day because it's the choice that I made that was right for me. And I want all of you out there to kind of, you know, keep that in mind. And, you know, don't let fear lead you. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I spent more than 20 minutes talking about this. I hope you guys are having a great week. We have springtime back again. It's like, you know, in the 60s here, the sun is out. So I am thrilled because I need it to be, I need spring to come and I need it to stay. But anyways, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your week and you will see me very, very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.